What happens when a German U-boat fires 3 torpedoes at the same target and all 3 detonate before impact? September 1917, North Atlantic. The height of unrestricted submarine warfare. U-boats sinking Allied shipping at catastrophic rates. We know this history. What we don't know is what some submarines encountered beneath the surface, what commanders reported and had classified immediately. Tonight, I'm sharing testimony suppressed for over a century. Testimony about an object that detonated torpedoes at a distance in 1917.
September 7, 1917, North Atlantic Ocean. SMU-53 was on its 14th war patrol, a Type U-51 submarine under the command of Korvettenkapitan Hans Volter, operating in the western approaches hunting Allied convoys. The submarine had been at sea for 19 days, 5 confirmed kills totaling 14,000 tons of Allied shipping. Weather conditions were moderate, sea state 3, visibility good despite scattered clouds. Korvettenkapitan Hans Volter, 38 years old, from Hamburg. He had joined the Kaiserlichen Marine in 1899, transferred to the submarine service in 1912. Commanded U-53 since March 1916. 16 confirmed kills, 47,000 tons of enemy shipping destroyed. He was known among submarine commanders as methodical, precise, unwilling to take unnecessary risks. He had survived depth charge attacks, Q-ship encounters, mines. He had seen Allied destroyers hunt U-boats with ruthless efficiency. At approximately 13:47 hours, Volter was at the periscope conducting a standard surface sweep. The sea was relatively calm, scattered whitecaps, visibility approximately 8 nautical miles. He identified what appeared to be a vessel pairing 285 degrees, range estimated 4,000 meters. No visible smoke, unusual for a steamer. No masts visible, strange for a sailing vessel. He called his executive officer, Oberleutnant Torse Friedrich Bauer, to confirm the sighting. Bauer, 29, from Bremen, verified the contact. But what they were about to observe would violate every principle of naval warfare known in 1917. What Walther and Bauer observed through the periscope defied classification, a perfectly cylindrical object, metallic in appearance, approximately 80 meters in length based on comparison to known merchant ship dimensions. No superstructure, no funnels, no identifiable propulsion system. Moving at approximately 6 knots on course 045, completely silent despite U-53 being at periscope depths less than 3,000 meters away. Walther's official patrol report, filed at 0830 hours on September 12 upon return to Wilhelmshaven, described the object in precise technical detail. The report survives in a fragmentary form, declassified accidentally in 1998 and quickly reclassified. A transcript obtained through German Freedom of Information requests in 2006, heavily redacted, reveals his observations. The object was cylindrical, diameter estimated at 12 meters based on optical range finding through the periscope. Its surface was described as dark metallic gray, smooth, without rivets or pleating visible. Most significantly, it displayed no conning tower, no deck gun, no periscope, none of the identifying features of a submarine, no propeller wash visible despite forward motion, no wake characteristic of surface propulsion. The object maintained course and speed with mechanical precision. Walther noted the complete absence of engine noise. At periscope depth in calm seas, U-boat hydrophones could detect merchant ship propellers at 15 kilometers. Diesel engines could be heard at 8 kilometers. This object, at less than 3 kilometers, produced no detectable sound. The U-53's sound operator, Maschinenmat Otto Reinhardt, reported hydrophones detecting only ambient ocean noise, nothing mechanical, nothing that corresponded to any known propulsion system.
Walther made the tactical decision to attack, according to testimony from Oberleutnant Circe Bauer, documented in a letter he wrote to his brother dated September 10th and discovered in a family archive in 2009. Walther believed the object was an Allied experimental submarine or disguised auxiliary cruiser. The decision to attack was tactically sound under the rules of unrestricted submarine warfare, but what happened next would reveal technology that wouldn't exist for another 25 years. If you're following this incident, hit subscribe because what comes next demonstrates capabilities that naval intelligence worked desperately to suppress.
U-53 maneuvered to attack position, course 310, range 2,200 meters. The fire control solution was calculated by Bauer. Target speed 6 knots, bearing steady. At 14:11 hours, Walther ordered the first torpedo fired from Tube 1, a G7 torpedo contact pistol set to run at 4 meters depth, 35 knots. The torpedo launched normally. Propeller noise audible through the hydrophones. Runtime to target calculated at 94 seconds. At 93 seconds, the torpedo detonated, not on impact, approximately 100 yards short of the target. The detonation was observed visually through the periscope and confirmed by hydrophones. A massive explosion, water column rising approximately 30 meters, standard for a G7 torpedo warhead detonation. But the explosion occurred in open water. The target was undamaged. It maintained course and speed, completely unaffected. Walther's immediate assumption, documented in his patrol report, was a defective torpedo. Premature detonations were not unknown. Magnetic pistols could be triggered by metal debris, wrecks, even schools of fish under certain conditions. But this torpedo had a contact pistol, not magnetic. Contact pistols required physical impact to detonate. There was nothing at the detonation point for the torpedo to impact. At 14:14 hours, Walther ordered a second torpedo fired from Tube 2. Identical settings. G7, contact pistol, 4 meters depth, 35 knots. Range had closed to 1,900 meters due to the target's continued advance. The torpedo ran normally. At 82 seconds into the run, it detonated. Again, approximately 100 yards short of the target. Again, in open water, with no visible obstruction. Again, the target was completely unaffected. According to testimony from Torpedomeister Werner Krauss, documented in a psychiatric evaluation conducted at Marinell Lazarett Kiel in April 1918, both detonations occurred at precisely the same distance from the target, with different firing positions and ranges. The probability of 2 consecutive contact torpedoes detonating prematurely at the same distance from a target with no physical obstruction was statistically impossible. No contact pistol in 1917 possessed any form of proximity trigger. That technology would not exist until World War II. Walther ordered the submarine to close range. U-53 advanced to 1,400 meters. The target maintained its course, apparently oblivious or indifferent to the attack. At 14:19 hours, Walther ordered the third torpedo fired from Tube 3. This time, he altered the settings based on the pattern he had observed. Depth set to 3 meters, speed increased to 40 knots, hoping greater velocity might overcome whatever was causing premature detonation. The torpedo ran hot, straight, and normal. At 51 seconds into the run, with the target clearly visible through the periscope, the torpedo detonated, 100 yards short, precisely the same distance as the first two. Bauer's letter to his brother describes what happened next. The target altered course. For the first time since initial detection, the object changed bearing. It turned to port. adopting a course directly toward U-53's position. No increase in speed, no aggressive maneuvering, simply a steady turn onto an intercept course. Walther ordered the submarine to dive to 40 meters and alter course to starboard, standard evasion procedure when attacked by surface vessels. U-53 descended, engines at full power, turning away from the approaching object. But the object was closing, and what the crew heard next would haunt the survivors for the rest of their lives. Subscribe if these impossible detonations are making you question everything you know about World War I technology, because the most disturbing revelation is still coming.
Hydrophones tracked the contact. It was closing. Still no propeller noise, still no engine sound, just the displacement of water by something massive moving through the ocean. At 14:27 hours, the object passed directly over U-53's position. Every man aboard heard it. Not engines, not propellers, a low-frequency vibration that resonated through the submarine's hull. Reinhardt, the sound operator, reported his equipment registering frequencies below the normal operational range of hydrophones, subsonic pulses. Then the object altered course again, turning onto a bearing 090. It began to submerge, not a dive like a submarine, a vertical descent. Walther brought U-53 back to periscope depth at 14:33 hours. The surface was empty, no debris, no oil slick, no evidence anything had been there. Walther ordered U-53 to return to base immediately. The submarine secured from battle stations and set course for Wilhelmshaven. The patrol was terminated, despite having expended only 3 of 8 torpedoes. During the return voyage, Walther interviewed every crew member who had been on duty during the encounter, 34 men. He documented their observations in a supplementary report attached to his official patrol log. That supplementary report was confiscated when U-53 docked on September 12th. Intelligence officers from the Admiral Stab were waiting at the pier. Korvettenkapitän Martin Schroeder, assigned to Naval Intelligence Section 3B, boarded U-53 before the crew was permitted to disembark. He conducted immediate interviews with Walther, Bauer, and Krauss. All written records were seized: the patrol log, the torpedo firing log, the supplementary report, even Walther's personal notebook. The crew was ordered to remain aboard while intelligence officers searched the submarine. They were looking for something. What they were looking for was never specified in any document that survived. After 6 hours of interviews and searches, the crew was released, with orders: absolute silence about the encounter. Violation would result in court-martial under paragraph 92 of the Military Penal Code, disclosure of military secrets. The penalty was death. Walther was relieved of command on September 18th. Official reason? Accumulated fatigue from extended combat operations. He was transferred to Marine Lazarett Wilhelmshaven for medical observation. According to his medical file, obtained through Freedom of Information requests in 2011 and heavily redacted, he was diagnosed with neurasthenia and combat stress. The examining physician, Stabsarzt Dr. Heinrich Vogel, noted Walther was rational, coherent, and showed no signs of delusion or psychosis, yet the diagnosis stood. Walther remained hospitalized for 7 weeks. He was discharged in November 1917 and assigned to administrative duties at the submarine school in Kiel. He never commanded a U-boat again. A commander with 16 confirmed kills, 47,000 tons of enemy shipping destroyed, removed from combat operations at the height of the war. The official explanation cited fatigue. His service record contains no other disciplinary actions, no other medical issues, no other reason for his removal. In December 1918, after the armistice, Walther resigned from the Navy. He returned to Hamburg,
worked in maritime insurance, and never spoke publicly about his naval service. He died in 1953. No memoirs, no interviews, no public statements about what he had witnessed. Walther's silence was ensured, but the rest of the crew still posed a threat to whatever was being concealed.
Oberleutnant ter See Friedrich Bauer continued serving aboard U-53 under its new commander. On February 3, 1918, during a patrol off the coast of Ireland, U-53 was engaged by the British destroyer HMS Ophelia. The submarine crash-dived to evade depth charges. At 80 meters depth, the pressure hull ruptured. U-53 sank with all hands. 36 men died. Bauer was among them. The wreck was never located. British naval records describe the engagement as routine anti-submarine warfare. Ophelia reported a confirmed kill based on debris and oil slick, but German naval archives contain an unusual notation. U-53's last radio transmission, sent at 0847 hours on February 3rd, reported encountering an unidentified submerged contact before the destroyer attack. The transmission was cut off mid-sentence. The submarine's final words, according to signal logs declassified in 2003, "Object bearing 270, range 800 meters, no propeller noise, descending," nothing more. The destroyer Ophelia arrived on scene 23 minutes later. No investigation was conducted into the incomplete transmission. The Admiral's staff classified the final signal immediately. It remained sealed until 2003. 2 key witnesses eliminated, but the pattern was only beginning. Torpedo Meister Werner Krauss survived the war. He was transferred off U-53 in October 1917 and assigned to U-boat training facilities in Kiel. In March 1918, he was admitted to Marinel Lacharet, Kiel, for psychiatric evaluation. His medical file describes persistent insomnia, anxiety, and intrusive memories of impossible events at sea. The attending psychiatrist noted Krauss exhibited no other symptoms of combat stress. He was rational, functional, and performed his duties without error. But he could not stop discussing the September 7th encounter. He described the torpedo detonations in obsessive detail. He calculated and recalculated the probabilities. He insisted the detonations were not mechanical failure, but deliberate action by the target. On July 12, 1918, Krauss was found dead in his quarters. Official cause: suicide by hanging. The medical examiner's report noted injuries inconsistent with hanging. Bruising on the wrists suggesting restraint, abrasions on the throat inconsistent with the ligature used. A request for further investigation was filed by the medical examiner. The request was denied by the Admiral's staff. The case was closed within 48 hours. Krauss was buried in Kiel. His family was told he died from complications of combat fatigue. His medical file was sealed. It remained classified until 2007. 3 witnesses, 3 deaths, 3 investigations that found nothing suspicious. Coincidences. Maschinenmart Otto Reinhardt, the sound operator who detected the subsonic frequencies, was transferred to U-117 in November 1917. On April 4, 1918, while on patrol in the Atlantic, U-117 surfaced to charge batteries. During the surface charge, Reinhardt was on deck performing routine maintenance. According to testimony from the watch officer, Lieutenant zur See Klaus Hoffmann, documented in U-117's patrol log and declassified in 1995, Reinhardt became agitated while on deck. He pointed to the horizon, shouting about an object in the water. No other crew member saw anything.
Reinhardt attempted to reach the deck gun, claiming they needed to defend themselves. 2 sailors restrained him. He was taken below, sedated, and confined to quarters. When U-117 returned to base on April 19th, Reinhardt was transferred directly to psychiatric care. He was diagnosed with acute psychosis. He remained institutionalized until his death in 1931. The cause of death was listed as pneumonia. He was 42 years old. His psychiatric records note he repeatedly described the object that detonated our torpedoes until his final days. Medical staff attributed this to delusional thinking. No connection was made to the September 7, 1917 encounter. His medical file contains no reference to his service aboard U-53. 4 witnesses, 4 eliminations, and the pattern extended far beyond U-53. The pattern extends beyond U-53's crew. German naval intelligence files, partially declassified between 1998 and 2015, contain references to at least 6 similar encounters between 1915 and 1918. Each involved U-boats reporting contact with unidentified submerged objects that demonstrated capabilities beyond known technology. Each encounter resulted in premature torpedo detonations or torpedo failures when attacking these objects. Each crew was debriefed by Naval Intelligence Section 3B. Each incident was classified immediately. Of the 47 crew members documented across these 6 encounters who survived the war, 23 died between 1918 and 1925, 12 in accidents, 6 by suicide, 5 from unexplained medical conditions. The statistical probability of this mortality rate, calculated by German naval historian Dr. Klaus Reinhardt in 2008, was approximately 840 to 1. These were not men serving in the same unit suffering collective casualties. These were individuals scattered across different U-boats, different flotillas, even different naval districts after the war. Yet they were dying at a rate that defied probability. And when researchers tried to investigate, they faced the same fate.
In 1962, a British naval historian, Commander Richard Blackwood, retired Royal Navy, was researching captured German U-boat records at the Admiralty Archives in London. He discovered references to the September 7, 1917 incident in signal intercepts. British naval intelligence had intercepted and decoded U-53's radio transmissions during its return to base. The intercepts described an encounter with an unidentified submerged vessel and impossible torpedo failures. Blackwood requested access to the full intercept files. His request was denied. Classification sealed under the Official Secrets Act. No explanation provided. In 1964, Blackwood published a brief article in the Journal of Naval History mentioning the intercepts and the denied access. 3 weeks after publication, he died. Heart attack. He was 51 years old with no prior cardiac history. His research notes, scheduled for donation to the Imperial War Museum, disappeared. They were reported lost in transit. No copies were ever located. The official records remain sealed. U-53's patrol logs for September 1917 are held at the Bundesarchiv Militärarchiv in Freiburg under reference RM97/814. Classification Verschlusssache, classified material, sealed until 2047. Attempts to obtain release under German Freedom of Information laws have been consistently denied. In 2012, researcher Marcus Weber petitioned for partial declassification. The request was reviewed by the Federal Ministry of Defense. The response after 14 months stated, "Release of the requested material would compromise ongoing security assessments and is contrary to the Federal Republic's intelligence interests." No further explanation was provided.
How could U-boat patrol logs from 1917 still threaten German security interests in 2012? The ministry did not elaborate. British Admiralty files related to signal intercepts of U-53's transmissions remain sealed under the Official Secrets Act with no scheduled declassification date. American naval intelligence files obtained by the Office of Naval Intelligence after World War II, when Allied forces captured German naval archives, are held at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. Classification: top secret. No FOIA release has been successful.
You're watching this now because you understand something was different about the naval war beneath the Atlantic. The U-boat war is well documented. The convoys, the depth charges, the tonnage sunk, the men lost. But there was another dimension to that conflict, one that has been systematically erased from naval history. Those submariners encountered something that could detonate torpedoes at a distance using technology that would not exist for 25 years. Their testimony was suppressed, not because it was unreliable, but because it was impossible to explain. And the pattern of suppression continues. Documents that should be public remain sealed. FOIA requests are denied on security grounds that make no logical sense for incidents over 100 years old. The machinery of classification established during the war remains operational. Why? What is still being protected? What truth about those encounters, about what was operating beneath the Atlantic, cannot be allowed into public awareness? September 7, 2027 marks the 110th anniversary of the U-53 encounter. On that date in 1917, a German submarine fired 3 torpedoes at an object that detonated them at precisely 100 yards, using technology that did not exist. The date has taken on significance among naval researchers, former intelligence officers, organizations tracking underwater anomalies. There are indications that certain naval forces maintain active monitoring of the North Atlantic regions where these encounters occurred. Declassified submarine deployment patterns from the 1980s show unusual concentrations of NATO submarine activity in these zones. Recent Freedom of Information releases reveal ongoing oceanographic surveys in precisely these coordinates. Whether September 7, 2027 brings new encounters, declassification, or merely another anniversary of suppressed truth remains to be seen. But for those who recognize the pattern, the date carries weight.
I'm sharing this because the truth should not remain buried with the men who witnessed it. Their testimony, their deaths, their systematic erasure from history, all of it demands recognition. If you've watched this far, you understand. You see the pattern forming. You recognize the suppression for what it is. Leave a comment with these exact words. The torpedoes detonated at 100 yards. Nothing more, just that phrase. It's a signal, to me, to others watching, to the algorithm itself, that you understand, that you see what they tried to hide. Don't elaborate, don't add explanation, just the phrase. Those who know will recognize it.